G'day everyone, this is Mark, and tonight we're going to do a Throwback Thursday and talk about the roller once we've got it home, and the process we undertook to start the restoration or to start finding out what problems we had. So I'll start with a presentation. Just have to bring that up here. And we'll just swap this around. Put that there. And just bear with us, folks. We're just getting underway. And presentation. So those of you just joining us tonight, I'm talking about the process that we undertook once we got the steamroller at home to start the restoration work. And I'll just zoom out. What we're looking at is a general arrangement view of the roller as it was presented in a drawing. So this is a side view, and it just shows the layout and gives dimensions, overall height, width, and quite a few other dimensions related to the actual roller, which was, of course, in the early days very handy. When we purchased the roller and brought it home, we got a bunch of drawings that were part of the deal, which was very beneficial. It's one thing to have the engine in front of you, but if you've got original plans or copies of original plans to look off, then it makes it so much easier to work on. So once we got home and brought it home, we started opening things up to see what we could find, what was what needed to be done, etc. One of the first things we started in doing was washing out the boiler. Now, the boiler, as we found out, was really full of limescale. Limescale acts as an insulator and reduces the thermal efficiency of the boiler or the heat transfer. And this boiler was well and truly scaled up with lime, which you'll see in other photos. And we used what we had on hand, and that was the pressure washer, or gurney gun, whatever you want to call it, to get in and get out as much as we could. And we certainly did get a lot out. So as you can see in this view, I'll zoom in and just scroll over here. You can see, the limescale build up on the tubes. So we're not sure if the engine was retubed at any stage during its life. Quite possibly it was, and but you can see the limescale build up on the tubes, which is pretty bad. And actually so this is before we actually took the washout plug out. As you can see, there's some definite deterioration of the boiler tubes, especially down the bottom, and also the rivet heads, which these rivets will be replaced, of course, and a lot of other rust around the bottom of the front tube plate smoke box area. And this is quite common on a lot of engines that sit around for a long time or sit in parks. Further to the extent of the limescale buildup, this is one of the washout plugs, and you can see it's made a nice little seal on the washout plug which we had to knock out. It's not very thick, but it's still, it had obviously been there for a very long time. And it is more than likely possible that it wasn't thoroughly cleaned out during its working life. And here's that same washout plug, or the view from that same washout plug. And as you can see, the lime scale is very very well built up, very well. Oops, there we go. This is where the roller sat in the backyard for a long time. Once we brought it home, obviously we did move it around. We put some oil, just old sump oil, on the boiler barrel just to help give it a bit of protection while it was outside, before we got too serious and moved it inside the shed. Here we are in the process of cutting the tubes out, and once again you can see the lime scale, how it's really, really built up, and it certainly made it a lot tougher to get through cutting through the tubes. But we got there. It got there in the end. The tubes were beaded over the end, or rolled over the end, as you can see. This helps prevent the fire, it helps deterioration of if the tube was sticking out just normally. Eventually, the heat and fire would deteriorate the end of the tube away, and you'd start to get leaking tubes and things like that. So, of course, this all had to be ground off, and a tool made up to fit just inside the tube, so that we could knock the tubes into the boiler barrel and start fishing them out. And yes, I just fit inside the firebox of the roller. It's nice and cozy. One interesting thing is, you probably just can't see it here, but when you take a close look, you can still see the oxy-cut marks from when they cut the plate. So if you ever used an oxy, you can see where you've cut, and the lines from the oxy, you can still see those on the plate here on the end of the tube plate. Moving on. Right, here we get a better view of the process of removing the tubes, and you really get to understand the scale, the amount of lime scale that this boiler had inside of it. It was everywhere, and I mean everywhere. And it wasn't just the tubes; it was on the crown, on the inner firebox, on the walls. It was just everywhere. In the boiler barrel, you name it, it was everywhere. And so, yeah. Bit of a work in progress. That's me inside, grinding the ends off the tube so that it'll make it easier to get out. And as you can see, we've had already removed a number of tubes, and the process kept going. Of course, this all didn't happen in a day. It took several days from memory to do this. And we've got, in this photo here, we've got at least half the tubes removed. And as you can see, the lime scale building up below the tubes, and it's on the stays. It's everywhere. So this is looking up towards the front of the boiler, looking at the front tube plate, and you can just see how much rubbish is inside. Over the years, rats had made their home inside the boiler, and it was certainly a real mess. And here's my lovely wife who's helping me out and who continues to help me out. As you can see, we've got a toy truck and we're just filling the little bin on this toy truck full of lime scale. Just tremendous amount of that we dug out of here over a period of time. And righto, so let's stop sharing the screen for a minute. And let's go back. So I'm just going to find a few more photos. And oh, come on. And nope. There we go. Righto. Sorry, folks. Let's go over the new tab. This one here. New page. Share screen. Right, here we go again. So throughout the process, I've had family members help me out. So this is my dad helping me out, taking out the tubes. And this, oops, here we go. Get a few more photos up here. So the tubes had to come out. There was no way of saving them. Some of them already had holes in them. And there's an example. You can see that this was one end that was already in the tube plate. I just can't remember whether it was front or rear. And there was already a hole in there. And they were in really bad shape. They were really badly pitted once any of the line scale got taken off. But that line scale is still on there. We have a sample tube, a couple of pieces of a sample tube, and that lime scale is not showing any sign of coming off. It's really stuck on there. And here I am inside the firebox, set up to grind the end of the tubes off so we could knock them out and get them out. It's certainly nice and cozy in there, just enough room for me. So just got a series of photos. When we were going through, we found various things like the original blowdown valve. It was still on the engine. It was on the back head and in behind the tender. This roller was set up with a This roller was set up with a 3-tine scarifier. So therefore, it had a bracing bracket down the right-hand side. So therefore, the blowdown valve, which would normally be mounted on the right-hand side. Let's get a better photo. There it is there. That's a blowdown valve. It was tucked away, out of sight, out of mind. And we'll just show it here. Oops. And there it is there. Down below, underneath the rear axle, underneath this plate, and nobody knew it was there. So that was a really good find, and it's actually in really good nick. I probably won't have to do much work. It'll probably need a little bit of lapping, but that's about it. So, and there it is there, nicely cleaned up. Still got a bit of work to do, but yes, it's certainly cleaned up beautifully, and that was a very pleasant surprise to find that still there. Let's find a few more photos just to show. Right, so once again, you can get the idea of how much line scale, how much crap we got out of the boiler. Not just line scale, but crap that we got out of the boiler. It was pretty horrendous, really. We didn't have an actual total of how much we got out, but several kilos easy, if not more. Maybe 5 or close to 10. Certainly lost track, and we've got even more out since this time, since we've been working on it. So So once we got the majority of the lime scale out and washed it and cleaned it and we got the needle gun in there and needle gunned and got out as much as we can, it was starting to look a lot better. And we just kept working on getting as much out as we could. And also, now this is all 5 years ago, and it certainly took us a while to get to the stage we're at. Of course, in between this time, we're going to work, involved with other events and so on. So we did this in our spare time, or the time we had. And let's bring up that first photo. Go back to that one. So overall, it's been an interesting project. It's been a learning curve. Even though I've been involved with steam locomotives for a long time and road steam, having your own engine and going into restoration of your own engine is certainly a different kettle of fish than just turning up at a club and taking one for a drive or something like that. But wouldn't change this for anything. If it's been really good, really enjoyable, and it's been a great learning curve. I'm certainly connected with people around the world, in the UK especially, and even one gentleman in South Africa, and of course even here in Australia, come into contact with several people who have a similar roller or the same roller. There's about 4 of these here in Australia. I'll just bring up a photo. So this is the roller at a rally, at my club's rally, that it went to. This was about 3 years ago. This is before we seriously started taking it apart. During this time, so it was good. So it has actually attended its first rally, which was good. The Marshall S-type steamroller behind it belongs to my friend Bill Ives, who helped arrange us coming in contact and getting the roller. So I've got to thank Bill for his help in that, because it was, before this, it was just a dream, and the dream has now become a reality. And hopefully soon we'll be able to have it steaming down the road. Well, so that about covers it for tonight. This is my third live stream, second one about the roller, first one by myself. Still getting used to this live stream business, but we'll get there. Eventually, we'll show you work in progress I do on the Facebook page. Come over and see what's happening there. At the moment, it's just mainly a lot of the parts that I'm working on. Currently working on the steering at the moment, which is this part down here. Zoom in a bit. That's like the rest of the engine. It got neglected over time, so it's taking a bit more work than initially thought, but it's nothing that can't be resolved. So there we go, folks. That's it for Throwback Thursday. Hopefully we will do a few more of these, and I might get some other guests up here to talk about different things. I've got to thank Robbo, he hasn't joined me tonight. He's busily watching MasterChef, something he really enjoys. I'm using his channel, so I've got to thank him. And if you just search for Let's Chat Live on YouTube, you'll find his channel. Come over and say hello, and you may even want to join in. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining in and joining the journey. See you next time.